Hello, my friend. You asked me to speak about intimacy. In fact, several of you have asked me to speak about intimacy. I think that may be because it's a controversial topic, isn't it? It is something that people have very different views about. And why is that? Well, it is largely because we have lost track of the multi-layered facets of intimacy. And so some people define it in one way and others define it in another way. But people fail to see that it is a whole complex concept and that we can pick and choose in our intimacy how many layers of ourselves we expose and share when we get close to another human being. So often people think about intimacy as a kind of equivalent to sexuality. What that really means is that we consider it to be a very intimate thing, which of course it is, to get close and personal with another person's body, especially if we have intercourse in that process, which means that there is an interpenetration of bodies. So clearly, that is a hugely intimate act. But you know, when you adopt a dog, you become aware that there is also an intimacy which is quite physical, which you can or cannot have with your dog, and the same is true for other animals, of course. That it's quite an art to gain the dog's trust so that the dog will allow you to touch his ears, his face, his mouth, allow you to brush his teeth, touch his tail. That is a kind of permission of intimacy too. So intimacy is really the extent to which we feel able to allow the other close to our skin and maybe even under our skin, which may explain why when people go to doctors or have an operation, it feels like a very intimate thing too. But of course, I've only been speaking at the physical level so far. And really, to have true in-depth intimacy, you need to go beyond that. You need to allow a person to become part not just of your outer circle, socially speaking, but of your inner circle. For the person to become part of the group of people that you trust, that you would talk with about your secrets, about your difficulties. So it's a kind of social intimacy, a trusting companionship. Now, if you add that with physical intimacy, of course it becomes quite powerful, but we can get deeper yet. So to have a really good relationship, you need to take that intimacy down a further level onto the personal level. And I consider that to be about when you allow another person to see a bit of your inner self that you normally hide from other people, even in your inner circle. So it's when you feel able, or you test the other person with the deepest of your sorrows, with the worst of your memories, with the greatest of your challenges, with your most fervent aspirations, with your most hidden thoughts. This is when you make them part of your self-world, when you really truly allow them under the skin of your defenses and of your boundaries, the separation between you and the world and you lift the veil. Now, of course, for the intimacy to be true, the other person needs to do the same thing for you. And once you have this level of intimacy where you allow each other on your skin, inside of your skin, in your inner thoughts, aspirations and yearnings, it becomes a really deep pact between you and that other person. And that is when I would truly begin to think this is an intimate relationship. But even then, you haven't gone as far as you can go, because the furthest you can go is to actually truly share with that person what your beliefs are, what your purpose in life is, what your understanding of life is, what you think you're on the earth for, and what your true objectives are in that, what your yearning is for, and what you believe is true about what happens after death and what is true about the universe. So when you can have openly discussions about the things that matter to you most and that you would normally be most cautious with and most careful not to share with anyone who might have a go at you about it, or even worse, laugh about it. So when you can share that level of closeness, that level of confidence and trust with another human being, that is when the trust of intimacy is fully established. Now make no mistake, it's never done once and for all. All these layers of intimacy are constantly tested and tried. And what we do is that we tend to push away again or let in again according to the level of trust we feel capable of with a particular person. And if we've been hurt and offended by the other person, it may be very, very hard to open up to trusting that person to full intimacy ever again. So be extremely gentle with your intimacy and be chary about how you open yourself up for other people. It is something that will hurt you very much if they take advantage of you when you have allowed them to become intimate with you. And the more layers you have opened up, and the more you have exposed what you truly are and where you're going in your life, the harder it will be if that other person betrays your trust. So intimacy is a wonderful aspect of a loving relationship. It's not all there is to it, but for now we'll stick with the intimacy part. I hope this helps you in being good at knowing when to allow more intimacy and when to become a little more private again, and make sure you're sufficient to yourself and you stay in charge of who decides how deep you allow the other to go in your life and in your heart. Take care, my friend, with your intimate self.